Dear Chairman and members of our board, representatives from the embassy, fellow directors and members of other foreign schools and institutes, dear friends and colleagues, welcome to the 29th annual open meeting of the Norwegian Institute of Athens. We are happy to see so many of you here tonight and look forward to sharing the report on our activities in 2017, followed by a talk on our very exciting underwater project off the coast of Naxos that will be presented by the Institute's friend and our colleague, Dr. Sven Arens from the Norwegian Maritime Museum. Before we move on to the overview of our 2017 activities, as each year, I would like to express the Institute's deepest gratitude to those individuals and institutions whose help and collaboration have made our work possible and enjoyable. First and foremost, I wish to thank our hosts, the Greek people and state, the Hellenic Ministry of Culture and Sports, and, in particular, the General Secretariat for Culture for their collaboration and assistance in 2017. We are proud that in our almost 30 years, we've had the chance to work with so many wonderful and dedicated colleagues. I would like to especially thank the Ministry's General Secretary of Culture, Dr. Maria Andreasaki, the head of the General Directorate of Antiquities, Dr. Kolka, the Director of Prehistoric and Classical Antiquities, Dr. Kunduli, and the Director of Byzantine and Post-Byzantine Antiquities, Dr. Julia Capelloni. Special thanks are due to the directors of the local efforts of the Ministry of Culture, with whom our institute and our researchers have the most direct and closest collaboration. Here I mention Dr. Anna Karapanayiotou of the effort of Arcadia, Dr. Dimitris Athanasoulis of the effort of the Kyklads, Dr. Pari Kalamara of the effort of Underwater Antiquities, Dr. Andreas Dallas of the effort of Speleology, and Dr. Angeliki Simosi of the effort of Elia. Without their support, and in many cases direct involvement, our work would have suffered greatly. It should be noted that our joint project on Naxos would not have been possible without the help and support of Dr. Ekaterini de la Porta, the director of the Byzantine and Christian Museum at Athens. We also want to thank Dr. Jorunn Økland, director of the Numismatic Museum, for collaboration on an upcoming book on the institutional sponsorship from ancient to modern times, based on a conference that we co-organized in Thessaloniki in 2014, as well as Ms. Tina Gurbelu from the Foreign Schools Department of the Ministry for her excellent work, help, and very often patience. We wish also to thank our host for tonight, the Italian School of Archaeology at Athens, for their hospitality and generosity in graciously allowing us to use their premises for this event. Last, but by no means least, we thank the Royal Norwegian Embassy in Athens and the Ambassador, His Excellency Mr. Jørn Økland, for their cooperation and continuous support with matters related to cultural collaboration and exchange, and increasingly also with organizational matters. In the end, but as important, the Norwegian Institute wants to express its gratitude to the people from the areas of Greece where we have been working, for their help, support, and understanding, and for welcoming us into their communities. Specifically, we want to thank the people and the municipal authorities on the islands of Naxos and Iraklia, and in Kalistos, Tegea, and Tripolis. Thank you all for making us feel at home. As you might have noticed, we are approaching an important milestone, our 30th anniversary of working in Greece that falls next year in 2019. For this and other reasons, we have chosen to refresh our visual identity, and you can see our new logo on this and other slides and presentation. The logo represents a stylized Norwegian Viking ship sailing forward on the Greek Sea, represented by a historical Greek pattern. Our anniversary will be the time to reflect on almost a third of a century of our work here, as well as on the future directions of the Institute. At the present moment, however, allow me to only briefly remind you of who we are and what our mission is. The Norwegian Institute is an academic institution, a collaborative project financed and directed by the Norwegian universities of Bergen, Oslo and Trondheim. Until January 1st this year, also the Arctic University of Tromsø was part of the collaboration. And we are aware that further changes among the owners are ahead of us. Though its raison d'être is the possibility for Norwegian researchers to carry out archaeological fieldwork in collaboration with the Hellenic Ministry of Culture and Sports, the Institute's mandate and activities extend far beyond to all disciplines studying the ancient world, and more generally, also the inner Mediterranean basin in medieval and modern times. Our researchers cover large areas of antiquity, classics, art, and cultural, social, and political ancient history, religion, philosophy, and literature, as well as areas of Hellenic art and culture up until the present. We have recently begun a plan of expanding the Institute's portfolio into areas that are part of our mandate, but which have had a less stable presence throughout our history, namely in the form of activities related to modern Greek culture, society, especially in the framework of Greek-Norwegian collaboration, and also an extension of our long-standing collaboration with the Norwegian Embassy. We intend to be an active force in bringing together artists and cultural workers, but now increasingly with cultural and social scientists. Culture is not just for consumption, but an important field for research and analysis in its own right, which can indicate where our societies are heading. We have started collaborations with partners over activities at the intersection between cultural artistic performances and consumption on the one hand, and cultural research and knowledge production on the other. We plan to expand our work in this intersection in the years ahead. With that in mind, before I proceed with a brief presentation of our archaeological research projects, I have the pleasure of presenting our support of cultural activities in 2017. We particularly thank Ms. Christina Sordina from the Embassy for a continuous cooperation in this regard. In 2017, we supported many cultural events, ranging from conferences and workshops to concerts, film festivals, and other performances, alone or in collaboration with the Embassy. Regrettably, we do not have the time to elaborate on each one of them individually, but we would still like to showcase, in no particular order, some of the more representative ones. The Institute supported the participation of Professor Clifford Kentros at the Athens Science Festival at Technopolis. Clifford Kentros, who is a professor of medicine at Kalle Institute for Systems Neuroscience at the Norwegian University for Science and Technology, gave a lecture entitled Bugs in the Brain, where he presented his new finds on brain research to an audience consisting largely of school children from Athens. We were happy to support the publication Athens Alexandria by Håkon Snesvik Hansen, Associate Professor in Philosophy at the University of Agder, Norway. The book launch took place at the Books Plus Art and Coffee Bookshop in Athens. The book was translated into Greek by Professor Apostolos Thamos from Agder University. A Norwegian cultural project entitled Concerning the Spiritual in Art was one of the guests at the Norwegian Institute during the busy period of April, colored by the opening of the art event Documenta 14. As an effect of Documenta, hundreds of artists landed on Athens in April, and this group of performance artists was some of them. Their events took shape in the form of site-specific performances in the city, drawing, photography, and artistic books. The artists had the chance to meet with the audience at the Institute and exchange views on the topic of interest, namely the exploration of the spiritual in contemporary art under the inspiration of thought expressed already 100 years ago in early 19th century Europe. Within the framework of Documenta 14, more formally speaking, which in 2017 had a double presence both in Greece and Germany. Our institute collaborated with the Royal Embassy of Norway to promote the presence of Norwegian Sami artists in Athens. Consequently, the artistic director of Documenta 14, Adam Simchik, had included a considerable number of Sami artists in Documenta 14. We had the chance to work with Johan Nangu, one of few practicing Sami architects and a prominent artist within the Sami community. Furthermore, we organized a music event, which became part of the festivities for the National Museum Day 2017, with the theme Museums and Contested Histories, saying the unspeakable in museums. The event took place at the traditional pottery museum in Keramikos on May 19th, where the Sami yoik musician Isaheta sang along with the world musician Athena Kioti and combined the traditional yoik instrument with piano sounds from the Greek jazz pianist Kostas Yaxoglou. We also sponsored and participated in another Documenta-related event, but more within the field of research, as I have previously explained. This was with colleagues from the Pantheon University and the School of Fine Arts of the University of Athens. The event was called Learning from Documenta, closing event. It was the closing of a research project to which the Institute had contributed from its inception. The closing event attracted a number of artists and scholars who discussed the impact of Documenta 14. Norway was represented by Professor Arne Schneider from the Department of Social Anthropology, University of Oslo, with expertise in the anthropology of art and visual culture. In collaboration with our friends from the Belgian and Dutch institutes at Athens, as well as with the Acropolis Museum and the Onassis Cultural Center, we organized a one-day conference at the Acropolis Museum in connection with the Emotions exhibit. The conference was titled Approaching Emotions, Interdisciplinary Perspectives, and included scholars from various fields working on this interesting topic. From Norway came the psychologist Per Isdal, who through his affiliation with the Chinese Academy of Sciences was particularly interested in the new practice of Chinese authorities' new policies, technologies and practices of facial recognition. We thank at this occasion our colleagues from the Dutch and Belgian institutes, and especially Dr. Dimitrios Vandermalis, director of the Acropolis Museum, for taking part in and hosting the conference. Last but by no means least, we had our traditional Nordic Christmas concert in collaboration with our colleagues and friends from the other Nordic institutes at Athens. In 2017, we had wonderful performers from Sweden and the auditorium of the Danish Institute at Athens, even creating a sing-along event of Scandinavian Christmas songs. The Institute's educational activities consist mostly of courses organized in cooperation with Norwegian and other institutions and individual scholars. In 2017, from the beginning of January until the end of February, we hosted our undergraduate course on Athens in Classical Times in collaboration with the University of Oslo. This is an interdisciplinary course covering the fields of ancient history and religion, classics, history of ideas, and archaeology. The course takes place for half a semester in Athens and the other half at our sister institute in Rome. This enables our students to spend a full semester studying the ancient world on site, if they so wish. The teachers in this course in 2017 were Dr. Christina Amadou from Oslo and Dr. Mikael Vedde. We would like to extend our thanks to our teachers for their excellent job. Some of the students, as every year, also went on to participate as volunteers in our archaeological field projects. For the first time in 2017, we hosted a history course from the University of Bergen entitled Ancient Greek History. 14 students from Bergen took part in the intensive course taught by Professors Ingvar Mele and Eivind Sehan. The course combined classroom instruction with site and museum visits and was very well received, leading to its continuation in 2018 with even higher student numbers. After a long break, we restarted our educational program for teachers of ancient history and related subjects from Norwegian secondary education schools. This course has generated a lot of interest throughout Norway, with, in the end, 24 participating teachers in senior high school or Lyceum level from throughout the country. Christina Amadou from the University of Oslo and myself did most of the teaching, but collaborated with the University of Agder as well through Professor Apostolos Spanos. We thank the then F4 of Evia, Dr. Kalamala, for helping us organize our visit to Chalkida and for serving as an amazing guide for the Byzantine, medieval and Ottoman remains of this wonderful city. Evia is Greece in a nutshell and an excellent site when one needs to teach the participants as much as possible in a short time. This was just a little advice for my fellow directors. We also continued a fruitful collaboration with the organizers of the Greek Studies on Site program of studies in classics and ancient philosophy. Classes taught by lecturers from North American universities took place on the premises of the Norwegian Institute. This program is organized and led by Dr. Georgia Selmanoglu. In 2017, we had several visits by students and faculty from various Norwegian institutions of higher learning, for example from the Universities of Oslo and Trondheim, as well as from Oslo and Akershus University College. In total, these groups included more than 150 students and teachers who had the chance to acquaint themselves with activities and opportunities offered by our institute. Each year, the Norwegian Institute awards several travel grants for visiting scholars. The Norwegian Institute at Athens Fund Stipend was established to support Norwegian scholars who wish to take advantage of our facilities for their research in Greece and is awarded biannually. In addition, in 2009, the Norwegian Institute established a Norwegian Institute Travel Stipend. Scholars at all levels and of all nationalities working within any academic field, but whose work may benefit from a study stay in Greece, are eligible to compete for this stipend, provided they connect somehow with the Norwegian Institute's interests and activities. We particularly welcome young, promising scholars at the early stages of their careers. In 2017, these grants were awarded to an international group of deserving researchers, namely Signe Barfod from the University of Kent, Martine Breidi, University of Oslo, Carmen Concha Garcia, University of Trondheim, Sarah Nash, University of Alberta, Katerina Psoma, University of Illinois and Chicago, Robert Sims, University of Oslo, Jo Simon Stokke and Alexander Rostzakos, University of Bergen, and Sanja Vuketic, University College London. In 2017, the Norwegian Institute published a new book titled An Island Between Two Worlds, The Archaeology of Evia from Prehistoric to Byzantine Times. This seminal work on the archaeology of Evia through several historical periods, the only one of its kind to the best of our knowledge, contains 43 contributions originally presented at an international conference with the same title that our institute co-organized on Evia in 2013 in collaboration with the effort of Antiquities of Evia and the effort of Paleoanthropology and Speleology. We take this opportunity to profoundly thank Dr. Pali Kalamala, long-term director of the effort for Evia, for her support and participation, which was crucial for the success of the conference and the resulting publication. Together, we also presented the book to the Athenian public at large at the book launch event at the Byzantine and Christian Museum at Athens in October of 2017. We also thank the museum's director and the Institute's long-term friend and collaborator, Dr. Caterina Della Porta, for her help with this event and for hosting us at the Byzantine Museum. The book is edited by Zarko Tankosik, Fanis Malvidis, and the late Maria Cosma, and it is dedicated to our prematurely departed colleague, Maria Cosma. It is available for purchase in Greece via Andromeda Books, and the whole book is also available as a free download from the web pages of the University of Bergen Library. It is a policy in Norway that that research books now should be open access. Last year, we also organized the launch of the new book by Professor Christine Amadou from the University of Oslo, who is also a teacher of several of the courses offered at the Institute. Her book, which is already in use in her classes here, is titled Hva antikken? What is antiquity? The book is a presentation of antiquity as a concept and historical reality, but it also analyzes how 19th century conceptions have shaped the study of antiquity, and indeed the city plan of modern Athens. The book was presented to an audience of Norwegian teachers and was discussed by the author, Professor Apostolos Spamos from the University of Athens, and myself. We had a busy year in terms of research and research dissemination, and especially when it comes to conferences, seminars and workshops that we organized or hosted, of which we mentioned just a few of the most important. We continued our fruitful collaboration with the Nordic Graduate School of Archaeology by hosting another of their Dialogues with the Past seminars with an exciting and interesting topic titled Political Economy, Comparative Approaches from Prehistory. We had the opportunity to hear a number of interesting papers and discussions led by a number of world-class scholars such as Timothy Earle, David Wengrow, Martin Fouholt, Colin Greer and Mats Briggs. In April of 2017, we hosted and supported a research seminar on the works and life of the great Greek filmmaker Theo Angelopoulos. The seminar was organized by scholars from the University of Bergen's Visual Arts Department, Asbjørn Grønstad and Øyvind Vågnes, and it included an open conversation about Angelopoulos led by Andrew Horton and Eli Petridis, his close friends. We were happy to host a couple of seminars for administrators from the University of Oslo, namely our colleagues from the university's Cultural History Museum and the Center for Gender Research. The Institute also hosts smaller research colloquia on a regular basis. We host a running series of colloquia on translation theory and practice, and in May we hosted the research group ENID's seminar on materiality and visuality of cult and devotion in East and West, which included, what happened now? Yeah, okay. Which included a visit to the Daphne Monastery. There I thought there should be a photo from Daphne. That's the confusion. Last but by no means least, we organized a workshop titled Borders in the Breach, the European Policy at its Conceptual and Territorial Limits, under the leadership of Professor Stuart Robinson from the University of Tromsø. The workshop, among others, included the Deputy Mayor of Athens, in charge of immigrants and refugees, and it addressed the way the current immigration events shape the identities and the politics of the countries that are most affected by them. Besides the busy conference calendar, the Norwegian Institute maintains a well-attended lecture series in Athens with the goal of highlighting the work of both established and early career scholars and presenting it to the wider public. In 2017, we were fortunate to have a large number of excellent lectures delivered by Apostolos Spamos from the University of Agder, Amalia Tsitouri and Socrates Koursunis from the Ministry of Culture and Sports, Hanna Telvanotko from the University of Helsinki, Carlos Hernandez Garces, University of Oslo, Carmen Cuenca Garcia from University of Science and Technology in Trondheim, Konstantinos Chrysogelos in collaboration with the Greek Studies on Site Educational Program, Erik Østby, my predecessor, Andreas Davlas, Director of the Effort of Paleoanthropology and Speleology, Yanis Nakas, University of Birmingham, and our own current Onassis Fellow, Dr. Philip Ivanovic. As most of you are aware, the Norwegian Institute maintains an active online presence. On our YouTube channel with 30 videos already, you can watch and listen to our lectures and events if you don't have the chance to be there in person. Besides our web and Facebook pages, now you can even follow our activities on Instagram. As the final but most substantial section of my talk tonight, I have the pleasure of informing you briefly about our 2017 archaeological activities. On this map, you can see the locations of all archaeological projects in which the Institute is currently involved. As you can see, the research interests of scholars associated with the Institute cover diverse parts of Greece. Although no new fieldwork took place on Iraklia and Ekaristos, we proceed with the analysis of excavated material and other data that will lead to a final publication of the results. The work in Karistos is directed by Dr. Zarko Tankasi, while on Iraklia we have a synergy with the effort of paleoanthropology and speleology, directed by Dr. Fanis Mavlidis and Dr. Tankasi. In 2017, several students from the universities of Bergen and Oslo, as well as from the University of Illinois, participated in a brief museum study course in Karistos. We also plan a new research project in Karistos starting in 2018, so stay tuned. The Apellido Imbalance project. This project is a synergy between the Institute and the effort of Antiquities for the Cyclades on the island of Naxos. It carried out fieldwork in July and in August to September of 2017, in addition to a 2-week study season during spring of 2017 of the pottery collected during the surveys of 2016. We wish to thank the effort of Antiquities of the Cyclades and its director, Dr. Dimitris Athanasoulis, for their interest and continued active collaboration in the project in 2017. The Norwegian team working inside the 7th century AD fortified town of Castro, Apellido, was in 2017 mainly concerned with the refinements in the documentation of the site. This included, for instance, the documentation of diagnostic pottery used for lining some of the large and probably public cisterns with hydraulic mortar. Information such as this is important for collecting more evidence for dating and for the different phases of building at Castro Apellido, from the foundation of the town in the 7th century AD to the final abandonment in the early 13th century. But the most important work carried out in 2017 was the preparation of the publication titled Naxos and the Byzantine Aegean, based on the proceedings of a conference organized by the Norwegian Institute on Naxos in April 2014. This publication will go to the press within the next month and is edited by David Hill and James Crow. The second part of the Apellido Environments project is the survey on the far slopes leading up to Castro Apellido, conducted by our British partners, University of Edinburgh and Newcastle University, and directed by Professors James Crow and Sam Turner, respectively. The survey area includes 2 important early churches, Agios Ioannis, Adisaru, and Agios Stephanos. In earlier seasons, the area immediately around and below the Castro Apellido fortifications have been surveyed, revealing dense scatters of pottery and buildings. Surveying the western slope below Castro Apellido has proved to be far more time-consuming than we imagined, mainly because of the substantial remains of a non-fortified lower town that we have termed Kato Korea, a name which also seems to have been in use locally for this area. The survey of the building remains in this area, directed by Professor James Crow, is particularly difficult because of the dense vegetation, but considerable progress was made during 2017 and the documentation and mapping work will likely be finished in 2018. So far, the survey has documented a system of terraces and closures, many houses and 4 churches, and preliminary results from the pottery studies suggest that the most intensive use of the lower settlement was in the 7th through the 10th century AD. the Norwegian Arcadia Survey 3. In its second season of 2017, the Norwegian Arcadia Survey 3 took place from May 1st to May 26th on the Corinthian Plain in the area of Archaeological. The project is directed by Knut Ødegaard and Mari Malme. The survey project focused on the elevated area around the church of Agia Kyriaki, stretching from the mound of Buno in the southwest to the Gralos site in the north, and from the church of Agios Nikolaos in the west to fields about 250 meters east of Agia Kyriaki. The overall aim of NAS3 is to detect traces of ancient activity over time, with a special focus on the pre-urban habitation, that is about 950 to 500 BC. The project adopted a detailed high-resolution field method in order to detect these settlement traces. The method consisted of field walkers in close formation, documenting squares of approximately 6.5 times 10 meters within each field, so 6.5 meter consisting of 4 field walkers standing with arms outstretched, fingertips meeting, on an XY grid. The field method from 2016 was continued with a few adjustments. All finds from all periods up to the Byzantine period were collected and documented. Tiles and bricks were weighed, and the pottery and other finds were counted, weighed, and entered into the database. Relevant diagnostic finds were photographed. The adjustments made to the documentation process were due to time constraints, which necessitated a focus on the pre-urban material. A select group of finds were taken into the storage house of the museum to be further studied. The finds collected were primarily from the pre-urban period, while some belonging to other periods are to be used as XRF samples for comparison. In total, 30 fields were thoroughly surveyed, with all finds collected and catalogued. 19,347 finds spanning from the Neolithic to the Byzantine period were collected and documented in the field, and of these, 94 pieces were collected and stored in the apotheke. The clearest evidence of pre-urban settlement activity originates from field 10, where a handle from a geometric cup was collected. This piece resembles a similar handle from the sanctuary of Athena Alea. Another probable geometric piece came from field 1. Several other likely geometric pieces were also collected. Pieces with dotted designs were also found. These may find parallels from geometric and Proto-Corinthian designs from the sanctuary of Athena Alea. Several miniature vessels were found during the course of NAS3 in 2017. Many are wheel-made, but some are handmade and may belong to phases 1 and 2 from Athena Alea as defined by Leslie Hammond, which include the geometric and archaic periods. Many of the miniature vessels came from field 10, where many of the early pre-urban artifacts were found. Like last season, the NAS3 team discovered many figurines, though not in the same quantities or in such concentrations. Those complete enough to be identified were either quadrupeds or pinched face seat goddess figurines. Several finds indicated spinning and weaving. One spindle whorl in stone, one spindle whorl in stone has possible incised decoration or letters. Many spools or bobbins were found, and all these are similar to examples from Athena Alea, dated between the 8th to the 6th centuries BC. The loom weights were mostly pyramidal or conical, but a few were discoid. They have possible parallels dated to the 8th to the 6th century BC from the sanctuary. Other production activities were indicated by the presence of staffing rings and ceramic and metal slag. There were 6 areas with strong indications of pre-urban activity, with finds dating to the 6th century or earlier. These discrete clusters of surface material may represent the pre-conurbation phase of the habitation at Tegea. The collected artifacts of the apotheke will be studied further and form the basis for an X-ray fluorescence analysis to test our hypothesis about the change in the chemical composition of the fabrics through the time periods. The entire Norwegian Arcadia Survey Project 3 team would like to thank the effort of Arcadia and the Museum of Tegea for their kind cooperation and support. And now, let me only briefly mention our underwater project off the southern coast of Naxos, which is also the topic of our keynote lecture tonight. The project is a synergasia with the effort of Underwater Antiquities, and we thank the previous director, Dr. Angeliki Simosi, for her help. We also look forward to working with the new efforts director, Dr. Pari Kavanagh, with whom we've already had a very productive cooperation on Elia. This synergasia, run from the Norwegian side by our colleagues from the Norwegian Maritime Museum, has recently attracted quite a bit of worldwide media attention, which makes us, and I'm sure the project leaders, very proud to be part of it. Our speaker tonight, and the Norwegian co-director of the Greek-Norwegian Underwater Survey of Southern Naxos, is Dr. Sven Arens from the Norwegian Maritime Museum. I would like to single out just a few highlights from his impressive CV before I give him the podium. He has obtained his undergraduate and doctoral degree from the Humboldt University in Berlin, working on topics related to Mediterranean archaeology. Although in the past several years employed by the Norwegian Maritime Museum, which is Norway's primary institution for research and protection of its very large maritime cultural heritage, he has a truly pan-Mediterranean career. Among others, Sven Arens has worked on projects in Turkey, Greece, and Spain, and soon, perhaps, in Albania. He has published 2 monographs, and a number of his articles have appeared in international journals and other collected works. No less importantly, he has worked on many projects relating to cultural heritage preservation, thus contributing in a very direct way to the safekeeping of our common heritage. Tonight he will present his research on Naxos in a lecture titled Among Moray Eels and Amphora, the Greek-Norwegian Underwater Survey at the south coast of Naxos. Before I let Sven take over, let me just conclude and repeat by saying that all of us at the Norwegian Institute have worked hard to maintain and increase the quantity and quality of our work in 2017, and we will continue to do so. In this, we have been fortunate enough to enjoy the support of institutional and individual friends from both Norway, Greece, and other countries, and are very proud to have been able to facilitate education and research for many scholars and students from both countries. Moreover, we have expanded our research into previously neglected territory of social sciences and art, and we will continue to do so. Now, please join me in welcoming Dr. Sven Arens to the podium. Thank you.